everybody and welcome back to the channel. We've got a slightly different video today. Rather than talking about a specific machine or a specific product, we're going to be talking about how to wrap our tattoo machines to keep them safe during the tattoo process. Now arguably our tattoo machines are one of the most important tools we have in our toolbox as a tattooer, so keeping them safe and protected at all times is going to be beneficial. Some of these techniques can be used on both styles of our rotary style pen machines, and some are more favourable to our fixed stroke machines. So let's jump in and have a look at these techniques. Now the first system we're going to look at is probably the most obvious, and that's our machine bags. Now the great things about these is they're super convenient. All we need to do is open the back, the machine slides right in, and within seconds our machine's fully protected. We can still see the display on the machine, so if I turn this one on, we can still read everything on the readout, we can see everything perfectly fine, and it doesn't obstruct the operation of the tattoo in any way, shape or form. Now, these are obviously perfect for our fixed style machines, but even with our adjustable machines, if we take the larger style bags, which most companies do, the large style, these slide right in, and there's enough play in the bag that even when we've got wrap on the tip, we can still adjust the dynamic adjustable stroke on the machine. And even with a darkened bag like such, if I turn the display on, we can still see everything through, still see all the information we need. So this doesn't impede the operation of the tattooing and using the machine at all. The great thing is also, once we're finished, they come off in a second. They're super easy to put on and super easy to take off. Now, both of these machine bags are made by different companies, but they're both super affordable. Even the expensive ones by someone like Easy Tattooer are only about €10 for 100 bags. The darker ones I bought on Temu, I think I paid about €3 or €4 for 100 bags as well, so they're not expensive, so we've got no excuse not to be using them on every tattoo. The next technique we're going to look at is medical barrier tape. Now because this isn't specific to the tattoo industry, we can get it not only from our tattoo supply company, but also from places like Amazon or our local pharmacy. Now a roll like this has over 1,000 individual sheets on it, and I believe cost less than €10, so it's super cheap. It's perforated so each sheet can come off easily, and it's got a low stick backing on it, so it'll attach securely to our machine, but when we remove it, it won't leave any residue or any type of stuff on our machine afterwards. So I'll do a quick time lapse of wrapping the machine and we'll talk about this a little bit more. Okay, so now we can see our machine's wrapped and fully protected. We're not going to get any splash or residue or anything like that onto our machine. It's going to be nice and safe. We can still operate the functions on the battery and get to the buttons. We can still read the display. We can still adjust the voltage and anything like that as we desire. So it doesn't affect the operation of the machine. We've got these sealed ends that we can pierce with our cartridge, so we get a nice tight seal and we're protected on the bottom there. The only downside of this type of protection is, on a fixed stroke machine like this, once we've set the machine up, we're usually where we want it to be. If we're using a dynamic adjustable machine that's got the clicky middle here, if we tape over it, it's going to stop us using this function on the machine. Now that's okay if you set the machine up and you have it at one setting and you don't need to adjust it during a tattoo, but if you need to dynamically adjust the machine whilst we're tattooing, this technique's going to impede that. Now I have seen people that put one sheet of tape on the top half of the click and then they cover the rest of the machine with a layer of tissue and then grip tape over the top. They still leave the tiniest amount in the middle here exposed so they can still adjust the machine. Now this isn't good to do because first off we still leave a part of our machine exposed, so if we get any splashback of ink or any type of liquids that we're using during the tattoo process, that's going to get on our machine and it's going to work into the moving parts. And because we can't take this apart, it's going to make it very difficult to clean the inside of that ratchet system. The second thing to do with that is medical tape and tissue are porous. They're not barrier protection. So anything that gets on them is just going to seep into it and absorb into the tissue and the tape. So it's not going to stop anything like excess ink or potentially blood getting on the machine. So if you see people doing that, it's not a good habit to get into. There are other techniques we can use on machines like this to give us better protection. The next technique we're going to look at is our good old friend cling film. Now we've always got a whole bunch of this sitting in the studio at any given time. We use it for a whole manner of things, so we should always have some on hand. So if we haven't got access to the previous two techniques, cling film's going to work just fine. Now it's super simple. We just wrap around the machine a few times. And there's our machine fully protected. Now we've still got the tight seal on the end that we can pierce with our cartridge. We can still access the buttons on the machine. We can still read the display. So it doesn't have much difference from the medical tape version, except this is slightly cheaper and you've probably got this on hand. One of the downsides of this, it looks a little bit funky. We've got the excess there, but once the machine's wrapped up, we've got some tissue and some grip tape around it and so forth. It's perfectly fine. It removes easily and it's not going to leave any residue or any build-up on the machine. Once again, like the medical tape, this doesn't allow for the adjusting of a dynamically adjustable machine. So if you've got the machine set how you want and don't need to adjust it, this is going to work fine on both these style machines and on fixed stroke machines. The next technique we're looking at is the more traditional machine bag. Now, if you work in a studio like I do that has both coil machines and rotary machines, we're going to have a box of these at least around at any given time. Now, much like the first set of machine bags we used, they just slide in super easy. Now, depending on the size of the bag you have, you might find that you have to wrap the bag around a little bit to fully seal it, to make sure we've not got the opening here that's going to leave an exposed area for the machine to be susceptible to get any type of liquid or such into the machine. We can put a bit of tape around it, or once we've got our tissue and tape around the grip, our machine's going to be fully protected. Now, with a machine bag of this size, it might make it difficult or impossible to adjust a dynamically adjustable machine like this. But there is another option for that. Rather than buying traditional machine bags, we can just buy sandwich bags or food bags that you can get from any supermarket. Now, these are hilariously oversized, but they will fit any tattoo machine you could ever think of. We can then still wrap the machine. We can cut off any excess that we don't need. Get the machine wrapped, we'd still have the sealed hole that we can pierce with our cartridge. We can still read the display and everything. And with a bag of this size, there'd be enough give and enough play in the bag that once we've got our grip tape and our tissue around it, we'd still have the ability to adjust the dynamic machines. So if we needed to change it whilst we're tattooing, we have that option because we've got enough play in the bag. These bags are also super cheap, so we don't need to buy them from a specific tattoo supply company. We can pick them up from any local supermarket. The last technique I'm going to show you is one that I learnt when I was in the studio back in England. Now, my old boss there only used coil machines, but I saw him use this technique a few times if we had no other way to protect our machines. Now, disposable gloves. We use these on every tattoo we do, so we've always got a whole bunch of these at the studio at any given time. Now, on a coil machine, we'd use the area that our palm goes in to cover the rest of the coils and such. But on a rotary machine, we can just insert it into the thumb hole of the glove. Then we've still got a sealed end that we can pierce with our cartridge. The rest of the glove can just wrap around the machine. We can use a bit of medical tape or grip tape or something to hold it in place. And although it looks a little bit funky, from a scientific point of view, the machine is going to be protected and safe. It's going to be a barrier protection, so we're not going to get any fluids, any blood, any ink or anything like that onto our machine. One of the downsides of this is, because the gloves are so thick, we won't be able to read the display on our machine. And on top of that, because the glove will contour to the shape of the machine fairly well, using a dynamic machine where we need to click the middle whilst we're tattooing isn't going to be possible. But in a pinch, this will work if we don't have a better option. With that being said, I would recommend using any of the pre-mentioned options and only use this as your very, very last alternative. So now that we've looked at a few different techniques to wrap and protect our machines during the tattoo process, have I missed some of your favourite techniques, or have you found some that you haven't thought about? Let me know in the comments below, and if you've got any questions, feel free to ask and I'll do my best to answer them. Remember to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.